Assalamu alaikum. When a few years ago Islamic State captured parts of Syria and Iraq, and it imposed its reign of terror on the people of these two countries, they also captured a number of Christians, offering them three choices: either convert to Islam or pay jizya or face death. The world was appalled after hearing about these conditions, but there are some Muslim extremist clerics who apparently try to be moderate, but when it comes to issues like this, they have the firm conviction that this is absolutely correct. So, one of the prominent clerics in the Islamic world, or the so called scholar Maulana Maududi, wrote it very clearly in his book Al Jihad fil Islam. And if you read that book, it will give you an impression that if there is a Muslim government in the world, then Muslim will give would invite all non-Muslim to convert to Islam. If they don't, then they will have to pay jizya or a special tax, which, according to some critics, is meant to protect the lives and properties of non-Muslim residents in an Islamic state or under the caliphate. Some Muslim thinkers argue that since these non-Muslim residents are not supposed to fight for Muslims, so that's why they would be exempted from the army services, and because of that, they are asked to pay jizya or this particular text. But there are others who believe that it is meant to humiliate them, to subjugate them in a way to make them feel that they are inferior and second class citizen. And under that government, they would also be deprived of so many religious rights, especially the right to preach their own religion to uh, anyone except the people of their own faith. Maulana Maududi wrote it in Al Jihad fil Islam, and one of his ideological disciples, Qutb, was greatly influenced by the ideology of Maulana Maududi. It is not very clear whether Qutb also subscribed to this ideology, but another disciple of Maududi, Dr. Israr Ahmed, who is hugely influential on social media, and he's heard from Pakistan to Australia and Australia to UK. He has a very large following. Millions of people listen to his videos. He is considered an outright extremist thinker, an Islamic ideologue who clearly endorsed this bigotry of Maulana Maududi, stating that yes, it is right to, if the when he was asked during an interview on a prominent Pakistani news channel whether Maulana Maududi was justified in writing that. So, in a way, he endorsed. He said, yes, if there is an Islamic government in the world, he was specifically asked that if there is an Islamic government in the world, then would these conditions apply? And he said yes. If there is an Islamic system, then a non-Muslim would be asked to convert to Islam or pay jizya or a special tax, or the third option is qital or their killing. So this might sound very horrifying. Some Muslim thinkers believe that it was for defensive war as well, for defensive war only, and there cannot be any offensive war. And it was especially for the people living in Arabian Peninsula who persecuted Muslim, who kicked them out from Mecca, turned their life into a hell. They went all the way to chase them in Medina as well, and they also killed some of the Muslims. So it was specifically for those people, and it cannot be applied to for all times. But extremist organization all over the world think that it is even relevant even today, and a hugely influential thinker like Maulana Maududi and Dr. Israr Ahmed believed that it is applicable if there is an Islamic government in the world. Now, we we might have noticed that there are a number of group who have been seeking global hegemony of their religion, like Hizb ut-Tahrir was talking about a global caliphate, al-Mahajirun, a terrorist or extremist organization, sorry, an extremist organization that also talked about this. The Islamic State was also trying to impose a global caliphate. Uh, uh, it did punished uh, Jordanian, Syrians, and many other people in a very brutal way. So, does it mean that if these extremist Muslim clerics come into power, and if they establish, a global government in the world, uh, which has a population of more than 7 billion people and less than 2 billion are Muslims. So, does it mean that they would ask these more than 5 billion people to convert to Islam? If they don't convert, then they would have to pay jizya. And if they don't pay jizya, then they would be massacred. There is a historical incident that was told by a prominent historian that when Al-Tutmash was ruling over India, some clerics from Central Asia arrived saying that there were a lot of Hindus in India and that they should be asked to pay jizya, and if they don't pay jizya they should be killed. They should be asked to convert to Islam. If they don't convert to Islam they should pay jizya, and if they don't pay jizya then they should be killed. So Al-Tutmash, when he asked his administration about that particular thing, he was told that there are not enough sword to kill millions of Hindus. So now the problem is that this extremist ideology that was propagated by Dr. Israr or Maulana Maududi, and other extremists as well, like Daesh openly propagated or Islamic State openly propagated it. So does it mean that Muslim extremists want the massacre of 5 billion people? If Muslim youth really talked about it, it's going to be very horrifying, and it's going to bring very bad name to their religion. People would be scared of such an ideology. But of course, and this guy, Dr. Israr, clearly said when he was asked if there could be any coexistence with non-Muslims in an Islamic state, or if, let's say, there is a global caliphate in the world, if there is an Islamic government in the world, could there be coexistence with non-Muslim? And he clearly said no. He said because we are on the right and they are batil. It means that they are they are like liar. They are following falsehood. So there cannot be any coexistence between false and the truth. We are following the true path and they are not following a true path. So that's why there cannot be any coexistence. In the same way, when Dr. Israr Ahmed was asked whether in that Islamic state non-Muslim would be allowed to practice their religion, to preach their religion, he said no, they cannot preach their religion. And he was asked, what about Muslims preaching in the non-Muslim countries in Europe, in America, in India, and other parts of the world? And one of the anchors asked Dr. Israr, um, saying, "You go to different parts of the world and you preach Islam. So why shouldn't we extend the same opportunity to non-Muslim to preach their religion?" Again, he said because their belief is false, so that's why they cannot preach. They can preach their own people, but they cannot preach openly. So, this is the extremist ideology, and unfortunately, millions of people uh, follow Maulana Maududi all over the world. They follow Dr. Israr Ahmed all over the world. And they follow, of course, another disciple of Maulana Maududi, Sayyid Qutb. of Egypt. So this is very disturbing. And if you know Muslim extremists or even Muslim clerics preach this ideology, then people will uh, it will create a sort of an impression that if there is an Islamic government in the world, then non-Muslim would be given a choice to convert to Islam, or they would have to pay jizya, and if they fail to pay jizya, then they would be killed. There are some other clerics in history, like Ibn Taymiyyah is accused of saying more or less the same thing as Maududi said, but some people dispute that. And in the same way, it is also disputed whether that is allowed in offensive war, or it has to be a defensive war, or it is allowed in defensive war. But this is really um, in a way, this is very horrific. This is really very horrifying. And if you preach in that way, there are still people who say, no, no, we should openly say that. But there are others who said that it was specific to the people, especially those who were fighting Muslim, persecuting them, turning their lives into hell. In Arabian Peninsula, it was about those people, and it was not for all time and for all places. And it was ordered because Muslims were in a state of war, and in a state of war you have extraordinary orders. But those who still insist that it can be applicable to this world, it would just serve to send a shiver down the spine of those who naturally are not Muslims, who do not share their belief with Muslims, and who are from other religions.